Hey there, y'all. How's it going? Hey, I'm wanting to make a video on something that has gotten a bad rap for a long time, like for years. There's been a lot of misguidance and everything on a certain product, or you might not even call it a product because it's actually a natural thing. So, but anyways, what the deal is it's small cell foundation, or just depending on how many cycles you would let the bees make their own comb and stuff, just natural size bees. So, what it is small cell foundation is, with standard foundation, the size of it, like the diameter of the size, is usually 5.2 or 5.4 millimeter. Well, with small cell, that's 4.9 millimeter, which, that's like zero point 0.5. It's a half a millimeter less. So it's like a 10% difference, really. It's a big difference. And what's happened is in the past, they came out with this stuff years ago. I don't know how long they've been making it, but I think maybe in the 90s or maybe the early 2000s, there was a lot of claims that small cell could actually help prevent the the brood production of mites. And what happened was, a lot of people, there wasn't really any studies that supported that, but I mean, it was a theory because of the killer bees. The killer bees weren't having any trouble; they were thriving. They still are today. Okay, that's going to be a main point here in a little bit. But um, so, the theory and stuff was there wasn't enough room in the cell for the mites to reproduce and this and that. And people tried it and, they just didn't treat their hives or anything. Lost everything. I mean, just, and it made everybody mad. Um, so yeah, it made people upset for a long time. And they were so upset that people couldn't even talk about small cell. So, because it would make people mad. But so anyways, it got a bad rap because it was misrepresented. Okay, the the true purpose for small cell is to have a natural size bee. Um, and what's going to happen with a natural size bee is you're going to have more bees. You're going to have more laying room. You're going to have, like, if you want to use queen excluders, the bees pass through a queen excluder a lot easier, and they there's more bees in the hive, and they actually have a lot more to police the hive for wax moths, for African beetles. Excuse me, and just all that stuff. There's a million benefits to small cell foundation, and it's all been trashed because the FDA didn't like it, or there was people pushing it for the wrong reasons. So the FDA didn't like it because it they couldn't tell the difference between a killer bee and a regular honeybee. That's why they didn't like it. So, anyways, the way this goes, here's a lot of the benefits of it. So small cell has nothing to do. As soon as you start hearing somebody saying that small cell can help prevent mites, just don't even listen to them anymore, because that's done away with. The main way it can help against mites is that they're outbreeding the mites. Okay? Yeah, there's so many cells in that hive. When the queen is at maximum production rate, she's blowing away the mites. And as long as if you have a good mite program, that's not very often, a couple times a year, man, your queen and the bees are going to outproduce the mites, as long as you knock the mites back every now and then. So, I mean, it's not hard to do. It's easy. Let's see. So, some of the main benefits are here. Michael Bush, he's, I don't know if you'd say he's a pioneer, but he definitely has a lot of information on his website about this stuff. Um, and I know he's always been a big fan of it. One of the main benefits is you can actually fit an extra frame in the bee box, in the brood chamber. Okay, like in a 10 frame brood chamber, maybe not a 5, but a 10 for sure. And the way you do it is you just on your frames, like where the shoulders butt up to each other, cut off a 1/16 of an inch on one side and a 1/16 of an inch on the other side. And by the time you get 10 of those shaved down, you got room for another frame. Okay? Yeah, tell me that ain't awesome. And so just that one fact alone, um, if you use standard size foundation or standard size comb, I believe that a standard like 5.4 millimeter cells, you'll have 7,000 cells for each frame. Okay? Guess how many you'll have for small cell? 8,400 cells on each frame. That's 1,400 more cells on each frame that you have in the hive. Okay? And then with you, and the reason, now listen to this, that 11th frame, the reason why you're able to do that now is because when the bee, the actual size of the bee is smaller, okay? The diameter of the bee is now 4.9 millimeters, and the length of the bee is also shorter. So now you have more room for your frames to be closer together. Yeah, so that's how you're able to get the 11th frame in there. And so when you have the small cell, you have 8,400 per frame. So you just added 8,400 cells just by that one frame, and then you have another 1,400 per frame. So times 10, 1,400 times 10, 14,000? Is that right? It is. 14,000 more on top of the 84. So it's like 14, 19, 20, 21, 22, 22 or 23,000 more cells for your queen to lay in. Man, come on. Who's going to have swarm trouble? Who's going to have numbers of bees issues? Who's going to have, all that stuff? Who's going to say the Africanized honeybees are not healthy? You know? So, anyways, all right. So, we have the number of frames that you can fit in a chamber. Number of cells on a frame is much higher, more than 10%. I'd say, from 7,000 to 8,400, that's 1.5 from 7. So 2 from 7 would be 25, 30. It's going to be like 20% more bees on one frame. I'm just rough guessing, but yeah, you get my drift. So with that that one thing alone, you're also giving your queen more land room. She is never going to keep up with that many cells. By the time she lays up these cells and stuff and she gets to the end, what's going to happen? She doesn't even get to the end, and the first frame she laid up is hatching out. She'll be on like frame 8, and she's still going to be busy over here, and those ones are going to be hatching out, and you see what I mean? So now this is all strictly numbers and stuff. In real life, we are going to have, now if you're running single brood chamber, it's less of this, but the corners, you're going to have a little bit of honey, a little bit of pollen. But in a single brood chamber, if you have a queen excluder, queen excluder, why'd you mention queen excluder, Strut and Buck? Man, that's funny, isn't it? So a 5.4 millimeter bee, you think he's going to squeeze through a queen excluder? He's going to be squeezing, right? Well, a 4.9, 10% smaller. Yeah, they go through a queen excluder easy. So there goes that issue, right? Making life easy. I'm telling you, that's what beekeeping is supposed to be about. So it gives the queen more laying room. She's not going to swarm as often because she knows she has all this room to lay, right? That's one of the hormones we got to deal with. Pheromones. Yeah. And then sing it. Using the small cell, it makes it easier to go with a single brood chamber because of that. Because of the timing of the queen. I mean, how many times a year does a queen lay 3,000 eggs a day? And will she even do that for months solid? No, she ain't gonna. She might go a couple weeks or something. I shouldn't say that because I don't know. So, but I mean, it just kind of makes sense to me. If I'm wrong, point me out. I might be wrong. Okay. Go ahead and yell at me in the comments or whatever. I am a 55-year-old dude and I can take just about anything. So we're good. Let's see. So single brood chamber management super easy with small cell. Swarming is less. Queen excluders are not as big a deal. The bees pass through that much more easily than they do the 5.4 millimeter bee. Um, and then just for the fact that the FDA didn't really want the beekeepers to use small cell foundation because it made them the same as a killer bee, you know. I think that is a really cheesy excuse for not wanting your bees to be at optimum health and everything. So, that's another thing that kind of irked me a little bit. It's like, what do you mean? It's healthier for them. They can have more bees. She has more land room. All that stuff, and it's their natural size. So I wasn't sure, you know. I mean, I guess I understand they want to be able to identify between a killer bee and a regular honeybee, but I mean, they have their chemistry sets they can use on that, you know. So, so they get paid good anyway, right? So, and then, all right, think about this. One good way to, one thing I always judge if something's good or not is if it has a natural consistency or if there's like a natural standard that we can follow. Okay. And here's my thing. Hear this out. If you would let bees go just in the wild, and if mites weren't an issue and they could sustain themselves and everything, let's say that you had 4.4 or 5.4 millimeter bees. They go out, they build brand new comb out in a tree, right? Well, those bees are bigger at first. So those first combs that they make are going to be bigger, okay? And those bees will probably start off being about the same size as the original bees that built the comb, 5.4 millimeter. Well, after a couple of years, 2, 3, each year, however many brood cycles the comb goes through, there's cocoons being made in those cells. And so that makes the cells start getting smaller after each brood cycle. Well, once that happens so many times, then, eventually the cells do get down to like 4.9 millimeter. So now here's the thing. Once that comb's like 4 or 5 years old and those bees are getting smaller, that is detrimental to that hive at that point. Then you might say that in that case, it's not healthy for the hive. And why would that be? It's not because the bees are smaller, but also the bees are smaller and the population's not growing. Either one. Okay? Because just because the cells are getting smaller, um, what's happening is the walls of each cell is getting thicker. So you're not increasing like number of cells in the comb or anything. So, and that's why it's kind of a, well, it's definitely a negative thing for a natural beehive then. So, but what'll happen, those bees that were hatching out of the 4.9 millimeter size cells now, even though there's not as many cells, those bees are still smaller, right? Well, when they swarm and they go make a new hive, guess what? They're going to make small cell comb. So then, like, if you just let nature take over and let it go through its natural process, they all supposedly they all go for 4.6 millimeter. Like the average will be 4.6 to 5 millimeter, and there's not any standard size in a natural like drawn comb either. You'll have some of the cells being, 4.6, some will be 4.7, 4.8, all the way up to 5 millimeter, So, but the average will be like 4.8, 4.9. See what I mean? So, just for the fact that if you let nature take care of it and you're not having to do a thing about it, and that's where they'll settle in at, that should tell you something. So that's kind of like the natural life cycle of the bees and stuff. So like 1970s beekeeping before the mites, yeah, everything was easy. A lot easier back then. Throw a box out in the yard, and man, you didn't even have to throw frames in there. Just the bees were going to take care of everything. So you go in there, steal honey for yourself every now and then, forget everybody else. So, all right. Well, I had to cover these benefits of small cell because it has gotten beaten up for way too long. And if somebody mentions if they put those two things together, just don't even listen. Just be like, they have nothing to do with mites. It's all about bee numbers, bee health, swarming, all that good stuff. So, all right. Well, y'all have a good one. We'll see you. Bye.